Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel, and in this series of videos I'm going to take you through the steps that I went through to build my Ferrari F430 Replica. Stay tuned! So now I thought it's time to move on to a bit of electrical work. You get everything supplied in the kit, such as new headlights and also some super seal connectors, which you'll see some pictures of those later on. But first of all, you need to work out how you're going to connect these up. So you need to redo your rear lights and your front lights. And what I'm showing here is the connections, the super seal connectors for the rear and the front, for the driver and the passenger side. You can look at these, you can see the colours and you can see what goes where. Starting at the rear of the car, I took the original MR2 wiring and cut off the original plug, leaving the wires like so. I then connected my super seal plugs with the wires to the original MR2 wires, just temporary with some tape just so I can test it, and I used the wiring diagram that I showed you at the beginning of this video. I then jammed something underneath the brake pedal and went to the rear of the car and found that all the lights were working. Excellent. So what you're seeing here is the way that Ferrari rear lights do work. They only usually light up half of the circle, and later on I'm going to look at making them light up the full circle, especially when you brake. So now it's back to the wiring, and this time doing it correctly, which meant putting some heat shrink tubing over the wires, wrapping the wires together and soldering them, and then pulling the tubing back over and shrinking it over the wires to protect them. I then used insulation tape to wrap up the wires to make them look like this, which I think is quite a neat job. And the final test of the rear lights, so again forcing the brake lever down and putting the car into reverse, you can see all lights are now working and correct. Next, I did the wiring for the third brake light. Here you can see the connector which goes from the MR2 original connection into the one direct to the third brake light. Now what I wanted on here was a flashing unit, so when you actually press the brake light it flashes before it goes on steady. Now I'm not sure if they're legal over in this country, over in the UK, so what I've done here, I've made a plug connector so I can remove it from the circuit for the MOTs we need to go through every year and plug it back in again when I've got my certificates. So here you can see the unit at the top there with two ends on, so that it goes in between the two plugs there with the original wiring. And here it is with the brake light flasher connected in circuit. As the rear deck is a separate part to the car, you need to drill a hole right in the back of the car, that is just above the bumper, you can see there, so that I can put the third light wiring through this hole. And here is the wiring ready to connect to the third brake light when it's installed. Electric's now complete. It's now time to dig out the front bumper. So this has just been wrapped up in a cloth and stored away until I need it. Here it is turned upside down, and in these holes you can see here is where we fit the front splitter. And here is the splitter supplied in the kit, so I've drilled the holes ready to mount onto the front bumper. And here it is fitted to the front bumper. This will then get painted black when it goes to paint shop. Next to do on the front bumper was the under tray, so this is the bit that fits underneath and stops everything splashing underneath it. You just need to lift the front bit like shown here, because that is just going to go above the splitter, and do that with a heat gun and just bending the plastic when it's soft, and then holding it in place, and it will unset in that position. And looking inside the bumper, here is the splash guard taped into place just to check fit, and it fits perfectly. Turning the bumper back over with it taped in place, I then drilled holes through the actual bumper into the plastic, so I know exactly where it's going to mount to the bumper. I then drilled out the holes larger so that they would take rivet nuts. I'm going to use these because there is no stress on this, so it just really needs just to hold, and I found that this plastic is very strong and these rivet nuts held quite well inside the plastic. Bit of a blurry photo, but here we are, is the finished front bumper with the splitter in place and also the under tray. I then again carried out some meshing of the holes, the air intakes, so this is exactly the same process as I detailed in a previous video. The front bumper also has these air intakes on the side of it, so again used the power file. I back trim these, which is basically sanding it from the back until the piece almost just falls out, and when that was done I then just went and nicely trimmed around the edges just to smooth it off. I then added some mesh. This was a little bit harder because it was quite twisty and turny, so you have to mess around with this mesh just to get it to fit nicely. And then it looks like this when it's all finished. Time to add a bit of bling to the car, so I decided to put my Ferrari script onto the rear deck where it goes on the original Ferrari. So it meant a lot of measuring and put some masking tape and made sure I got this in the exact location. Now what I did find was that the middle pin that I was using is just a little bit offset from centre of the actual Ferrari script, so therefore the hole was just slightly offset of the centre line. I also decided to remove the two outer pins as they just didn't go all the way through and I couldn't put the cap on to hold them in place. So what I'm going to use is a bit of glue to actually glue this in place to stop it spinning, and just use the centre pin with the cap on. On my build I wanted the rear cover open switch to actually work with the Ferrari kit. So to do this, the best place to mount this is just above the battery, so what you need to do is cut a little slot in the body kit at this point as shown. You then need to take the original switch bracket and put a few bends and twists in it so that it will actually sit in this place and allow the switch to work through the original hole. Once I'd bent the bracket correctly, I drilled a couple of holes in the MR2 body and mounted the switch. And here you can see where the rear deck actually operates the switch. This then confirms that one, the rear deck is closed, and also is an alarm if somebody tries to get in the rear deck when the car's parked up. And to finish off this video today, I thought I would have a little play with the fake engine. Yes, you get supplied in the kit a moulding of a Ferrari engine, as you can see. You also get supplied an original piece of Ferrari glass that fits in the rear deck like so. So pushing the engine underneath the rear glass, this is what it looks like. Amazing. And there you go, hope you enjoyed that, and if you did then please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for more videos like this. Until the next time, take care.